You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
Welcome to another episode of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, and this is me, Sarah. I'm recording this podcast episode from my room with a balcony that overlooks the ocean. Just thought that I would squeeze that in here because I think that's a really important part of this episode. And I really want to challenge you and all of my high achievers and high performers out there who really do want to up-level their online business. I want to challenge you with really owning how enough you already are and how enough your life already is. And one of the reasons why I say that is simply because I would have killed for the life that I have now, even just 2 years ago. And this morning, because this is actually a Sunday when I am recording this morning, Sunday morning, and yes, I am recording a podcast episode on a Sunday because I just felt like I really needed to record this for you guys today, especially within this energy. We went to the beach and my husband looked at me and he was just like, could you have even imagined that you'd be doing this one day, that you'd be living in this specific type of environment where you can go to the beach on a Saturday and on a Sunday and have a nanny who's taking care of your kid and just have everything feel so peaceful. And it really just hit me at that specific moment. I was like, wow, you're so right. I mean, I remember when I was living in Toronto, 10 years ago, and I remember all I wanted to do was just be able to wake up at the time that I wanted to wake up and do my yoga practice and have slow mornings without having to rush out of the door to get to work for 8:30. And then, a few years later, I got that. And then it became, well, I'd love to be able to afford to go on a trip to Europe each summer. And then I got that. And then it became, well, wouldn't it be beautiful, absolutely wonderful if we could just live closer to the beach? And then we got that. But here's the thing. These are all really, really beautiful things. But if we're not careful, we're just out and about and ready to go on to the next goal. Because how many of you would have killed for the life that you have now, even just a few years ago? How many of you feel really happy with a partner, or really happy with where you live, or really happy with your family? And think about it. A few years ago, you probably didn't have all of the things that you have right now. Maybe you feel happier within yourself. Maybe you feel more peaceful. And I think in our culture and if in our striving for more and more and more, better and better and better, we often forget about the things that we have right now that we once wished for, that we once really, really wanted. And I can't even begin to tell you how true this is even for me. Because yes, I have all these things, but at the same time, as a high achiever, I am constantly striving to do better, to make more, to do more, to become more. And that is beautiful and it's wonderful in and of itself. However, if that is putting way too much pressure on your life and way too much pressure on you, and it's not allowing you to enjoy your present moment, I'd love for you to come back into this feeling of enough. I am enough. My life is enough. I have enough. And it's really interesting to me because I have come across so many people who are super successful, and I realize that they don't have this. They don't feel fulfilled on the inside, and they just keep chasing and chasing and chasing. And when I had to take a really hard look at all of that chasing, when I put myself under way too much pressure in my business, I took a really hard look at all that chasing. And then I realized that I didn't want that. I already have everything that I want. I already have everything that makes me happy. I want a little bit more, and that's okay. I want a little bit more money. I think everyone does. I want a little bit more impact. I want a little bit more purpose. And it's totally normal to strive for more, but I no longer want to be modeling my business off of something that feels unhealthy to me. And I don't know if any of you can really relate to this, but when you take a look at your mentors and when you take a look at the people that you're looking up to, you really want to ask yourself, do I want to live the life that they have? Yes or no? Do they have a life that is similar to mine? Do they have values that are similar to mine? And if you can't say yes to all of those questions, to me, this is what I realized when I realized that I needed to find new mentors for myself. I needed to find people who did inspire me. And I've had that in the past, but I haven't had it recently. I've been in a lot of containers and in a lot of experiences where, to be completely honest, because I'm always super honest in this podcast, have felt like everything was just about chasing the next goal. And it was all, let's chase and chase and chase and chase more. And not only did we do that inside of these containers, we also, marked achievements based off of, how much money everyone was making. And I love making money. I love inspiring other women to make more money, but those were all of our markers for everything that we were doing. And it really hit me when I realized that I just didn't really want that pressure. I don't want to judge my business based off of financials. I want to judge my business based off of how fulfilled I feel in my business. I want to judge my business based off of what my clients feel through my business, not how much money I make. That's a great part of business, sure, but that's not the full picture. That's not the full story. And I really had to take a step back and ask myself, why am I striving for this? Is this something that I want, or is this something that I want to play along with and go along with someone else's game and someone else's dream? And this is so important. This is so, so important because I think a lot of people in the online space are like, yes, I want to make six figures, but do you ever ask yourself why? Why is $8,300 a month? Why is that important to you? And if you want to make multiple six figures, ask yourself, why is $200,000 a year important to you? Have you gone and written down all of the things that you would do with that money? Have you figured out how much money you need to live your own dream life? If it's $1 million, why do you want $1 million a year? What do you want to do with that money? What are you going to create with that money? What kind of impact are you going to make with that type of money? And if you can't answer all of those questions, then I would wonder if you are chasing something that might not necessarily be the thing that you actually want for your own life. And I've said this on this podcast before, but I was once reading an article about someone who was mentoring another of his friends. And they did the calculations. His friend was putting so much pressure on himself saying, I need $1 million a year. I need to make $1 million a year. They did all the calculations for his life, for his absolute dream life, maxed out assets, maxed out vacations, maxed out like where it is that he truly wanted to live. And they got a number that was around $650,000 a year. It's not $1 million. That's almost half, right? And it's really interesting because we put all of these crazy expectations on ourselves, and we put ourselves on this lever of this is the goal that I need to have. And I think a lot of us just never ask why. And I think that's such an important question when we are trying to achieve a goal, is that whole question of why. Why do I want this? Why is this valuable for me? Why is this important for me? And once I started questioning why and why and why, when I was really chasing after what I believe to be someone else's dream and someone else's goal, then that's when I realized I was like, you know what? This isn't actually all that valuable for me. And I've had my own place of enoughness, and I've really evaluated my own business from a place of like, okay, where do I want to just chill? Where do I want to be like, okay, This is the amount that I'm really good with. This is the amount that I'm really comfortable with right now. And this is the amount that I'm going to be grateful for. And I arrived at it and I felt really, really good. And it felt really good to come back to a number rather than chasing and being inside programs where we're just like, okay, now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do this. And this feels so fulfilling. And it really does feel like enough. I feel like I found enough. And isn't it beautiful to just sit down with yourself and be like, I have enough. I am enough. Because when we don't do that, we're putting so much pressure on ourselves and we are consistently putting ourselves in the future, creating new problems, new pressures, new problems, new pressures. And that's incredibly overstimulating for our nervous systems. Now, one thing that I've always tried to have a really great balance with is this whole idea of, well, of course you still want more and you're still going to get more. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, but I still want that, I still want the 6 figures. I still want those multiple 6 figures. I still want the $1 million business. You can still get it. You can still have all of it. But maybe you don't need to do it on that specific time frame that you are putting so much pressure on for yourself. You're not going anywhere. Your business isn't going anywhere. Your life is happening right now. And I say all of this to you as a high achiever, as someone who has made millions of dollars online, as someone who has gotten all the way up to 100K a month that I've received in my business. And coming from all of that and coming from all of these achievements, I love achieving. And I think it's so great. And I think human self-actualization and human optimization and high performance is just so incredible. It's so incredible the ways that we can push ourselves to do more and to be more. But I think us high achievers and high performers need to balance that out with, hey, this is enough. This is good enough right now. And this morning, when I went out for a surf, I went out with all the bros. I went out with my husband and his friends, and they were all catching the big waves. And I looked at the big waves and I was like, I could push myself and I could go out into the big waves today, but I really didn't want to. I didn't need to push myself in that moment. I knew that I was going to be super happy and content with my smaller waves, with my white water. And I was like, no, thank you. I'm good. And they were like, you don't have to be afraid. It's all good. And I'm like, you know what? I'm fine. I'm really happy here. I'm content exactly where I am. And I had a great time. And I wasn't full of anxiety. And I wasn't trying to pressure myself to push, to be more every single second of my day. I already do that a lot in my business. And so it became so much more enjoyable. Your experience becomes a lot more enjoyable when you're not constantly pushing and pressuring yourself. And one of the ways that I really love to balance this out in business is by giving myself seasons of pushing and seasons of pressure and seasons of holding and just holding space and holding specific income levels and specific targets and specific levels of impact. And when you're in a season of growing and expanding, it's normal to put on a little bit of pressure, but just understand that you also need to have seasons where you're saying, this is good enough. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. I'm going to celebrate what it is that I did. And I really feel like the internet and online marketing is just constantly telling us stories of, I went from 0 to 6 figures in 3 months, or I went from 10K months to 100K months in a year. And there's all these like rags to riches and hero stories that we all love, right? We love to hear them. But that's also not the only way to grow. You can have a really smooth and steady business exactly where you are. And you can be more than fulfilled. How would that feel? To just feel like you are fulfilled and that you have enough within this current moment. And if you've been feeling fulfilled for a long time and you're like, okay, yes, now I want to challenge myself, then challenge yourself. That's great. But what I'm trying to say here is there are seasons for challenge, and then equally there's seasons for holding in place and for just feeling incredibly grateful for everything that you have. And I truly feel like I'm coming into a season where I'm like, okay, hold in place. I have a really amazing team. I have really amazing processes. I'm serving my clients at a level where I have a lot of energy to serve them. It's great. I see one of my mentors now. She wants to double her business again. It feels tempting to be like, oh, now I need to do that too. Yeah, let's double it. Except I'm like, no. My nervous system wants a bit of a break. I don't need to double my business right now. It's fine. I'm more than happy with what I have. And I think that that is also, especially for us high performers, equally something that is really hard to do. And if you're doing it right now for yourself, I honor you. And if you are in a season where you're just like, I've had so much fulfillment, now I want to push myself to do more, let's go. But I hope that you honor where it is that you're at. And if you've been chasing for a while, just ask yourself, how would it feel for me to stop chasing and just start enjoying? All right, I'm super curious to hear what you guys think about this episode. Do you like it? Do you feel like you're in a chasing season, or do you feel like you're finally ready to step into a season of full fulfillment? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. You can message me or DM me over at Sarah without an H, JLOUREIRO. So it's Sarah J. Loureiro on Instagram. You can also find me on my website, sarahjloureiro.com. Send me a message. I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.